This is the Twin Cities Real Estate Investing Show. Real stories, real success in Twin Cities real estate. Join your hosts, Adam Tafel and Tim Swierczek, as they dive into the world of Twin Cities real estate investing. Together, they share valuable insights and practical tips to help both new and seasoned investors navigate the Minneapolis-St. Paul market. With a focus on relatable stories from real people, this show will empower you with the knowledge and confidence to thrive in your investing journey. Guys, take it from here.
What's up, Tim?
Hey, how you doing?
Good, man. We got Brian Strahan today.
Yeah, this is kind of like a new type of episode for us, but something we think is important. We're going to talk about housing in Minneapolis and the issues that face housing and safety, and on some small level transportation for the city. And frankly, you know, the importance of the city council and getting active in voting and or putting some money in or what have you.
Yeah, so Brian is running for a city council seat in Ward 1, which is a good section of Northeast Minneapolis. And we have a good talk here today. Enjoy. Investors, if a deal gets messy, call Network Title. They can handle the BRRRR, the 1031, mixed use, commercial, whatever it takes so you can close on time. Mentor of mine, guy who I really respect, Kirk Duckwall, says working with Network Title is kind of like having another personal assistant. That's how on the ball these people are. Network Title, complex deals made simple. Link in the show notes. Welcome to the Twin Cities Real Estate Investing Show, brought to you by Shook. Shook is the all-in-one platform to help you manage your rentals, built for real estate investors just like us. What I personally like about Shook, I am transferring, 11 properties over to Shook right now, and the customer service is unmatched. The owner, Oliver, I can text him. I can email him. I set up my VA and Oliver on an email thread, and they are just figuring it out for me. Show me another property management platform with that kind of customer service. I don't think it exists. So, at just $5 per unit per month, I think it's totally worth checking out shookrentals.com or booking a live demo in the show notes. Now, on to the main episode.
It's craziness, you know.
Very much where I'm at. This is seriously. People are like, what are your policies? And I'll go, like, they're all here, and, you know, I have detailed in wherever you want to go. But, I mean, really, this is just about getting back to basics and, you know, making sure we're being reasonable and sticking within the purviews of what the city council can do, which is, you know, zoning, land management, and first responders. They have full control over all of those things. And we have real opportunities to make, you know, change and do better for everybody in Minneapolis when we stick to those things. Going outside of that, you're kind of just collecting a salary and not getting anything done.
Oh, so. Does that happen in the city council?
It does.
Yeah.
We're rolling. Are you done? Are you good?
Yeah, I'm good. I mean, I have stuff for the episode pulled up, so I'm going to keep my laptop open
okay.
today.
You're going to be able to... Okay.
What? It's only... There's only 4 tabs, and it's all Brian related.
Yeah.
Well, what's up, Brian? How do we pronounce your last name?
Strahan. Spelled just like Michael Strahan. I pronounce it Strahan. I don't actually mind how you pronounce it as long as you show up by November 4th and vote. So,
well, we should probably all get behind how to pronounce your name. Strahan.
Yep.
Cool.
Yeah. So for those of you who don't know, Brian's running for office, Ward 1 of Minneapolis, right?
Yep.
Brian, for those who are listening, can you try to paint a visual picture of the boundaries of Ward 1?
Yeah, so it's going to be most of Northeast Minneapolis with a little piece of the Como neighborhood over by the university.
Okay.
So it goes all the way up to 37th and is bordered by the river. And it goes down to Broadway, but again, kind of shoots over and catches that little spur of by the U in the Como neighborhood.
Right. Right. So as far as parks go in Northeast, is there, are you part of Wyndham Park as well? Is that part of it?
Yes. So it's going to be Wyndham Park, Wade Park, Logan Park, Marcy Homes, the industrial neighborhood, and the Como neighborhood, but I believe that gets split in half by the
Got it.
districting.
Okay.
So
Okay, cool. And who are you running against, Brian?
I'm running against Elliot Payne, the current president of the Minneapolis City Council.
Okay, cool.
Maybe a little bit of background, right? Like,
Yeah, sure,
Where'd
let's
you,
do that.
Where'd you grow up? What have you been doing? And is being a city council person like a full-time job, or are you going to be doing something else while you council?
I grew up in Robbinsdale. And I had moved to, when I turned 18, I moved to Seattle for a little while to have an adventure. Came back here, went to the University of Minnesota for biochemistry, where I did research there at the U, and also I did some stuff in industry. Just couldn't deal with anymore, so I started ripping houses apart and putting them back together, and really enjoyed that. My two little dirt merchants showed up, and I actually got to stay at home with them mostly. I kind of kept the business going a little bit here and there.
But the business is construction, right?
Yes, Keep Smiling Builders. Yeah. We try to rehab a lot of the old homes there in Northeast or in the city. Just bring updates. Green infrastructure is always important. Windows, insulation, doors. These are like the best ways. I've seen great academic ideas out there for grand, big things to reduce carbon. Windows, insulation, and doors, and updating to high efficiency furnaces are your best way that you're going to get that done. So those are practical ways that I like to focus on that. The city council is a full-time job. I would still be a husband and a father, but mainly I would just focus on that. So, yeah.
And was there anything in particular that made you make the decision to run for city council? Like, what is the origin story here?
I've always had interest in politics. I got to say, over the last probably 10 years, I thought maybe that was not a place that was for me. It seemed most discussions were verging from anything that I thought relevant or necessary. But then actually after, the past couple of years seeing this and then just talking with my neighbors, realizing, they have the same concerns and wants that I do, that I decided, this is something, looking at the city, this is something I want to do. This is something we can address. I'm a member of Strong Towns, a very reasonable group of people that are trying to just make strong towns. And, reading Ezra Klein's Abundance, I was like, I think there is this moment for people who really want, kind of just middle of the road. We want the government to work and focus on what it can do to get done, not cram ideology down us. So that's kind of where my politics comes from and why I decided to get involved this time.
And I'm sorry, I got one more kind of question to lay the foundation of this episode. I don't pay attention to Minneapolis politics at all. Maybe I know a little bit as it relates to directly to my job and housing, but even that, I'm nowhere near an expert. Can you, and maybe Tim, you can do this too, give people just kind of like a summary, like what are the major issues facing the Minneapolis City Council right now? Like maybe like just a quick bullet point of I don't know. I think you understand what I'm asking.
Well, for the city as a whole, I think downtown Minneapolis needs to get going again. After COVID, you've seen a lot of howling out of those buildings. We've lost a substantial amount of tax base. So we're seeing all of our taxes go up, but no services attached to that because of that. It is a bit of an unfriendly place to be in. Although at times I think Fox News or, that bent makes it out to be far worse than it is. I can't lie. It's not nice to be around. And downtown has to be our economic center, not just during ball games. We need to, get everybody back living, working, and enjoying it. And I don't say we have to go back to exactly the way it was. We can look at this as an opportunity for getting housing and maker spaces and, store shop fronts and the skyways going again on however we want to do it. But Like without that tax base, without getting that going, we will continually see our taxes go up and our services go down.
Yeah. And to go above and beyond the tax base, there's also just the economic. So the economy does better when money flows, right?
Yep.
And if there are not people downtown, like let's say spending their money on parking and food and those sorts of things, and even the shopping that goes there, then all the businesses that are around there also go under, right? And then it's not as desirable to live there. And we're a long ways away from this in Minneapolis, so please don't take this the wrong way, listeners, but like eventually it becomes a downtown St. Paul. That is the end result of what, that's where that's headed towards. Now it is maybe a decade away from downtown St. Paul, but it's not inconceivable that could happen if we didn't turn it around. Correct? Path.
I think that is a real fear of many of us. So yeah, and I do want to, go out. I walk my dog every night. It's not a horrible, landscape, but yeah, I do see that being a real possibility of it just kind of being dead in the evenings and outside of ball games or concerts. You're not going to see much, and that's not going to benefit any of us.
Right.
So,
right.
Where do you live specifically?
I live in the Logan Park neighborhood, kind of by the Caskets Arts Building or Indeed Brewery. That's if people are familiar with that. Great place to live.
Cool.
Yeah, and you actually another little background or setting the stage for the meeting. We met through a common friend of mine, Connor Hesh, who's an excellent loan officer, definitely the second best loan officer in the Twin Cities, and he was a live-in duplex owner, now a non-owner occupant duplex owner in Northeast, and you lived close by him, correct?
I did.
Yeah.
We were just 2 doors down. I actually helped him on a project, and Connor could be the only guy I know who is more outgoing and person-friendly than I am. So, yeah, no, Connor's great. I've sent so many people to him to help get loans. He is one of the best providers of homes out there. You gotta love Connor. So.
Totally agree. So with that, so people know you're a duplex owner, can you talk a little bit about your, you not as the politician, but you as the homeowner / duplex owner? Tell us about that.
Yeah, so we lived in that duplex for 10 years probably, and you loved it. Also a great neighborhood there in Northeast, right by Wyndham Park. And we got to rehab that. We were, I guess you would call it lucky because we got it right as the housing boom was falling apart. So we got it kind of for a song. And because of that, we have been able to make sure that we have affordable rents for everybody. My past 3 renters now moved into homes after that. And I just that neighborhood is so great for the owner-occupied renters that's over there. I want to see more of those. I think we do it so well in Northeast. It should be the model for the city on how we go with this stuff. I have found it aggravating over the years how much red tape the city puts on it when you want to rehab these things.
Yeah, well, I'd love to talk about that more. We'll let you keep going, but yes, we'll dig into that a little deeper.
So they say that pulling permits is for safety, and if that is true, which I think a lot of it is, then they should make it easy to pull permits and make sure that the standards of checking the work are there. They make it so even as as a owner occupied, you can't pull any of the permits. So I don't
Can you explain that? What do you mean?
Oh,
Because I thought you could actually.
There are a few permits that you can do,
Okay.
but then you get into other things like if you wanted to build ADUs, run plumbing, electrical, things like that. So this is one of the reasons even when you have owner-occupied, there's knob and tube electrical. Then you should let us pull those permits and come check the work to make sure that's getting out of there. That's some of the most dangerous stuff there is. So... Yeah, that is.
What is the current? Okay, I'm in Minneapolis. I want to pull a permit. What does it look like?
Any mechanical you can't touch. if it attaches to the house, that becomes very difficult. So even if you want to if you wanted to put a floating deck that doesn't attach to the house, you can do that. But if you want to change stairs, if you want to update, open up walls, anything you touch in there, that becomes almost, prohibitory. Can't change out water heaters. You can't do, it's a constant battle. Yeah. The 2040 plan, they say that they want more ADUs, more mother-in-law apartments, more housing like that, but they've made it so onerous. People have talked about getting a ADU done. That's, the little apartments above a garage. And they're looking at $150,000 to $200,000 by the time they're done to get 800 square feet. Nobody's going to do that. They'll just go buy another duplex if they have that type of money.
That's probably even a good deal at $150,000.
Yeah. No, that is
it probably is. You're right. Yeah.
And I know plenty of builders, designers that would love to take these projects on themselves, but if they're ever going to rent them, they're not allowed to do that, period, end. So this is one of the ways I could see a lot of incremental housing, as we like to call it, come up in the city. So you could see just, even if it was 1 in 10 houses in Northeast Minneapolis, you could see, 3,000 units come up. Across the city, again, you do 10% of the units. That's, we're looking at a housing shortage of 20 to 25,000 units right now. And currently, the only method that they have to make more units in the city is by putting up, the 5/1s, the big high rises that's got like the storefront and then the apartments above it.
Yep.
And I'm not against those because we need more housing, but those are large developers and they are first and foremost financial products. They're not like fully out intended to be housing. Whereas there are a ton of people who have housing that wants to expand it and make it more friendly for more people to live in, become more landlords and, provide this housing.
Can you, and maybe Tim can help with this answer, what's the math behind the statement we're 20 to 25,000 short on housing? Can we be more specific?
That is just kind of with the demographics of people coming into the city, growth and like people wanting to buy their own homes or move into apartments. That is the current estimate.
Yeah, and the last estimate I saw nationwide, it's quite old now, and it was over 5 million. Mm-hmm. That was nationwide, right? In all cities. That's old enough now that it's probably a lot more than that, but I don't know.
I'm still trying to understand it more. So this is Twin Cities based, 20 to 25,000, the 7-county metro.
We're way more than that, 7-county metro.
Oh, yeah. That is just kind of Minneapolis.
That's just Minneapolis.
25,000 is a low figure, but for Minneapolis, it's probably right. I'm not saying it's not, but for the state of Minnesota, we're
And is there like a time frame attached to this $20,000 to $25,000 number, or is it just like today we have 25,000 people who... You understand what I'm asking, right?
I don't know your answer. For the 5 million, it was instantaneous. Like if you dropped, and this is like 2-3 years old. If you dropped 5 million homes, no one would need a new place. There would be enough for everyone. Technically that doesn't disperse them properly, right? But if you just said magically, boom, 5 million homes, everyone has a place. There's no homeless. There's no need to move, right? It's just everyone has their place.
And then you're also talking purchasing single family home. Is that what you mean? Or are you talking rental? Because it's kind of sounded like you were talking rental units.
Both. Just housing, period.
Yeah, my number is housing, period. It does not differentiate between housing. It's households that need a house.
Yeah.
Got it.
So it doesn't differentiate. It also doesn't talk about size of homes or any of that. And one of the things I think that's important to talk about what Brian says is 3,000 versus 25 sounds like a low number. Sounds like we still need a lot more. The catch is that is a different type of house than what you'd see on the 5/1.
Correct.
Buildings you're talking about, or even just building a new single family, right? We need each type of home to satisfy all the types of demand, right?
Yeah, and don't forget that those 5/1s. A realistic is 5 years to get that up and going. And
I was going to say, it's huge.
You get 100 units, which that's great. But I mean, that's
20 units a year. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And you can easily look at, 7 years on one of those projects. So this is my incremental plan isn't a slow plan. It's just, and it's also a more organic growth plan. I talk to a lot of people that want to push back against the 5/1s. They don't like how it changes the neighborhood. And, I can appreciate that, but also at the end of the day, I tell them, we need more housing and that's that. But if you look at my plan, there's other ways to do this if we move away from the current council. So
Sure. So, okay, well, let's, what are other ways? So, what are other ways to do this, as you say? I assume you mean add more housing, correct?
Or what's your plan?
Yeah. Oh, what's your plan?
So, yeah.
For housing.
So this would be homeowners and owner-occupied landlords that are in good standing could pull their own permits to build these units, and they could run the entire thing themselves. So what I would see right now is there would probably be a separate entity at the city where they would go over the permitting process for everybody to make sure that they're going to be doing well above board on all of the codes. You might even have to take like a Saturday course or something to make sure this is what we're looking for with plumbing. This is what we're looking for footings. This is what we're looking for electrical. And if you don't have these things, be prepared to fail and make sure you're going to go back and do it. So,
because to be clear, all this work gets inspected. It's just the homeowners
absolutely,
doing
yes,
it.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And it is kind of a vision of making it so that pulling the permit is easy. We could do it where you could do it online. You could have pre-approved plans. Other cities have done this, and you can
Use our plans, and it's
exactly, and then
rubber stamp, so to speak.
boom, and then you could just get up and going.
Yeah.
So and that way you would see more of, just small housing. Sometimes it's called first-time home buyer, first-time renter, things that are so missing right now financially. You're incentivized to build the, giant houses farther and farther out. I mean, they're going to Zimmerman now for people commuting in. And the incentives financially are to build your 5,000 square foot house. And a lot of people, they don't want that. They want to live here in the city, and they're okay with 1,000 square foot. This is what housing used to be.
Or they want to live in the city, but they're not okay with 1,000. They certainly would be okay with 2, and that's doable if we allow them to, right?
Correct.
In the proper ways, right?
Yes.
And with reasonable costs, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Because they do move out because they don't want 1,000. They really want 2,200 or 2,000, which we could do, but we make it almost impossible, right?
Yes. Not almost.
Yeah.
So.
Go ahead.
This is, and I want the city to make sure it kind of gets out of the way on these things and is part of making the more organic housing that's needed and allows the cities to grow like they have for centuries on end up until kind of our post-war model that is now running into a real wall. So
your plan affects ADUs, build something above your garage. How about or a third unit in a duplex?
There you go. Exactly. Attic spaces that you could build, basement spaces that you could build. Yeah. These are all, so you could really rehab these spaces. I've talked to some older constituents in the wards that would love to stay in their homes, and if they could find a renter for downstairs that could, offset rent if they were, checking things out. There's all types of opportunities sitting here, but the city is a constant hinder, to make that happen. Again, you get into the $150,000 on a very low end for 800 square feet. We could cut that in half or more. So
yeah, and so there's all kinds of things, like you said, with cutting red tape. You mentioned like if permits are for safety and you think they are, then they should be for safety. I like that attitude. A couple ways that rings through with me is one of them would be the water softener thing. You mentioned water softener. Now, or I'm sorry, water heater. You said water heater, and that's what I meant to say. If you just talk about the installation of a water heater, it's fairly basic. There are a few things I'm aware of that you need to do, even though I don't do work, right? And if there were common, again, if there's codes and it's inspected and someone can easily and cheaply pull a permit, they will. If they won't, they'll just go buy it from Home Depot. They'll take the old one out. They'll swap them out. It'll probably be just as safe as the old one was, but it won't be up to code, right? So there could be a way for Minneapolis to say, look, this permit is essentially free. Maybe it's even below cost, so to speak, in terms of like the inspector's time, but then we know they're all being installed correctly and no one has the motivation to avoid pulling the permit, right?
Correct.
Because really what we do with our permitting system now is we make it so onerous that good people decide after a horrible experience, it's no longer worth it for me to pull permits, and I'm just going to do it black hat until I get caught, right? That's really what happens.
Yeah, and this is pardon my French, but this is why you go into a lot of these units and you see half-ass crap atop half-ass crap.
Yeah.
And then, you know, I tell customers sometimes it's easier just to rip all of this out and start from scratch because you had handyman special meshed into handyman special. I don't see anything that's safe here. Let's get going, you know?
It'd be interesting. I'm sure we could find a way to study like what percentage of homes or what percentage of jobs are actually being done without permits in Minneapolis, because it's a huge percentage of landlord owned properties, right? Non-owner occupants. I didn't pull.
I think even owner occupants, they go to Home Depot on the weekends. They're not pulling permits when they come back and they tear apart their walls.
Yeah, completely.
Right? I mean,
I was going to say,
for the most part, you know.
I once emailed Planet Money to ask them if they've ever looked at if codes increase after recessions, just to make sure that, you know, protected interests can, you know, add more work. And
Sure.
They never responded, and I can't say that that's true, but I thought that would be a good economic study.
Adam, sorry, I kind of interrupted.
no, it's okay.
You.
I
You
was
were
going to
saying
say,
something.
I don't think any homeowners are pulling permits on. I mean, water heater? Are you kidding? I don't know a single homeowner. It's funny you use that as an example, because a water heater is honestly one of the easiest things you can do as a homeowner with modern technology. And
It really
I
is
can't
pretty
imagine
easy,
a single person who would like call the city as they're going to do that to their own personal home.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, and I just think we need incentives to align with what the city wants. And if the city is just trying to extort money out of people through permitting fees, that's a different goal than, hey, we want inexpensive housing, right? And what do we really want?
Yeah. And do remember, if it's a single family home, like you own yourself and you're owner occupied, you're not renting it, you can pull all of these permits for everything, plumbing, electrical, you know, gas. That's all allowed if it's your house. So now, which I did on my house, I redid the whole thing, and it's great. But now we need to apply that. There's a lot of people out there who would like to do that to rental units and make sure that we have the rental units we need.
I'm glad you made that distinction, because I was thinking that I've never owned a property in Minneapolis before, and I misunderstood you the first time. That makes sense. Same thing in St. Paul, right?
I believe so.
You can certainly pull. Actually, you might be able to pull in St. Paul on a non-owner occupied by signing affidavits and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Does that sound right?
And we all have to understand that it depends. Like, a lot of people think I own a property if you own it in LLC. No, you don't. Your LLC owns it.
Yeah.
That is a completely different distinction than Brian Strahan owns it versus Brian Strahan LLC. Those are two different owners, and they're not the same. And an LLC owned property can never pull a permit unless that LLC is already a licensed contractor, correct?
Correct.
That's licensed to pull that permit.
Yes. And great examples of this are, if you wanted to do an ADU, they've allowed you to be able to hook up to your, existing building's plumbing. But you'd have to get a plumber to come out and dig the trench and run the waste line and the feed line. Just to run that trench, the waste line and the feed line, it's just a hole in the ground and it's a couple pipes. A plumber's going to charge you $10,000 to $12,000 for that.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a $10,000 job all day long.
Yes. A homeowner can go rent the digger, make sure you call before you dig, and, purchase all the materials for $500 in rentals and maybe $1,000 in material. And there you have your waste line, hooked up. And they can come out and inspect that, make sure that water feed lines are below frost line, make sure that they're insulated, make sure that your waste line runs at a 1/4 inch per foot. That's great. But yeah, again, $10,000, $12,000 just to have that hooked up. These are the places where we can really bring down the price. And it should be inspected. This isn't difficult to do, but
Right. So I love it. And so another thing that I see, and this is probably more of a little comment for you, hopefully you'll get elected and you'll be able to make this influence. But the big thing I see is it always feels wrong to a landlord to be held to a different standard than than a homeowner. That's something I'd love to see change, because it's like, I remember one time I was doing this work where I was adding a washer and dryer on a main level rather than have it be in a gross old basement. And when I did that, the plumber just kind of made an offhanded comment that like he had to change the size of the waste pipe because it was too small for that code. He said, if you were just living here, it'd be completely fine. But since you're renting it, it's not. And I thought to myself, if it's unsafe for a homeowner, for a renter, then it's unsafe for a homeowner. Yeah. And they should both need to change it. But if it's safe for everybody, it should be safe for everybody. And that's somewhere where, I mean, again, I don't know if I need you to, really make a stand here, but I hope that if you get in, that's something you push.
Yeah. Well, I think also at the end of the day, there's, a tone that like landlords are bad. And I can tell you, like, owner occupied landlords are the best. Like, we need more of these. Northeast Minneapolis again, and over by the U, these are great spots to live. You see tons of owner occupied landlords. They hate crappy landlords more than anybody else.
Yeah. They
want to make sure that those units are up to standards, making sure that those renters have livable spaces. And another thing about the best way for tenants to deal with a bad landlord is to have more units for them to go to, more affordable units for them to go to, period, end.
Yes.
So,
I think we've covered, that's a great idea. Let people pull their own permits, landlords specifically. Any specific code changes? You're a contractor. Like, I have a friend who's trying to, he's basically got a third unit, Doomy, who was on the podcast a few weeks ago. We haven't published it yet, but Doomy Thompson will be published later this year. He's got a duplex, fully functioning third unit in the basement. It even has a separate exit, like a door that exits out. So good, but the ceiling clearance is at like 6'3". There's certain little things that I can't imagine have anything to do with safety, but the city wants him. First, he has to pay an architect. There isn't an architect that'll touch anything for under like $5,000.
Correct.
And so, all of this, the permitting thing is great, but is there any code specifics that you would change?
There's actually tons. I'm not sure we have time to go through all of them, but
give us your
Let's
top
talk about
10.
big stroke kind of stuff. Yeah.
There's some things that always bother me. Like we want to build greenhouses, but we still have opening requirements. So if you wanted to build a passive home right now, you still have to, or a passive unit, you still have to have a window opening of, I believe it's 10% or 5% on the addition. This is just
the purpose of the green home. Is that what you're saying?
Correct. And so if you've got a north wall that gets no sun, you're putting a window that is just going to let energy out of it and not bring any in. Like, these are the types of things. Height requirements, as long as we're still meeting safety, as long as these are still for good livable spaces, I think we need to go through the entire code book. If it's for safety, it should be easy to pull the permit. You got to tell me why you would have to make it harder to do that for me to keep it in the code book.
Yeah, I love it. If I could, kind of just a little thing that I've seen over the years is code, like you kind of alluded to this, code benefits the industries, the subcategories they're in, for example, electrical and plumbing. And they can argue that something is safer because technically speaking it is. But in mass, it's not statistically relevant, right? Or it's not statistically that much safer. Like for example, if you change it to a certain change to a certain fuse, it's inherently safer, not a fuse, but a circuit breaker maybe. However, how many lives is that saving? And the question is maybe zero, right? Or close to zero, right? And so I would love to see them look at it, especially when it comes to 1 and 4 family units. The city can choose to adopt 1 and 2 unit codes or residential codes to 3 unit buildings. And that would allow instantly for all these basement remodels you're talking about, because the stairs would still have to be safe, the same safety upstairs, but now you've got a 3rd unit in the basement that's equally as safe as upstairs. It's not as safe as a new apartment building that was just built, but very, very safe nonetheless, right?
Yeah. Well, I listen to, or I'm a member of Strong Towns. One of the things they often talk about is most of the homes we live in are illegal. I mean,
Yes.
I allow my daughters to sleep in what would be considered an illegal house.
Yes.
So, yeah, this is, but just because it's grandfathered in, just because it's existing, that's fine. Yeah, so again, as long as we're focusing on safety, to make more housing, this should be our goal. This isn't about making subpar anything.
Yeah.
This is about making, affordable, achievable housing for the 20 to 25,000 people that are looking for it right now.
Yeah, I think one piece to get like public opinion behind, like I think when the city is hard on the landlord and easy on the homeowner, I don't think they're thinking so much, oh, we're being hard on this landlord. I think they're thinking, well, this big corporation should be able to do it correctly. Let's give grandma a break, right? Grandma, if your pipe is 1.5 inches, we're going to let it slide. So I think a big part of getting the public perception on our side is like, what percentage of units are owned by basically the upper middle class, or call them the middle class, or maybe technically upper class, but mom and pop folks like Tim and I who own very little real estate. I don't know if you know the answer to that off the top of your head, but I think that the voters of Minneapolis maybe need to like reimagine what a landlord looks like and reimagine like the resources. Like if you looked at like Tim or I's checking accounts right now, it's probably not what you're picturing when, like, when these people think of like
definitely checking account.
Landlord, right?
Yeah.
Well,
sure.
again, like I said before, the only out they're allowing right now are those high rises, your big 5/1s, which, the owners of those are on Wall Street, and it's going to be, property management. You're not really going to have a personal relationship with your landlord. I've had a personal relationship with all of my tenants. I want to make sure that they are doing well. This is what landlords in Northeast Minneapolis looks like. This is what they look like in Southeast Minneapolis, I think. This is so if you're only out for new landlords is, financial products for Wall Street, sure, but I'm calling for you guys and me, this and anybody else who has the opportunity to do it. This is a, great way to help build neighborhoods. So
who's on the council now? What does it look like? How are you polling? What do you think are people going to like this idea? Do they like the idea? Like, where are we at? Is this going to happen?
I think,
There's a lot of questions.
There's a lot of questions. Right now, the council kind of has what's the DSA, the Democratic Socialists of America, aligned majority. And that they are calling for rent control, or I believe they call it rent stabilization, which if you could show me an example where it worked, I'd be more than willing to hear it. It never has, and only reduces units and makes sure rents go up at a whatever regulated base that they allow. So this is just a bad idea.
We've beat that to death on this show, so we don't don't get us started.
And they just don't seem to have the priorities on this that I think that are like so necessary. As we talked about, public safety, as we've talked about housing, they have just focused on, many other things, from international resolutions that I don't understand why a city council would be doing, to, the homeless encampments that I don't think they are treating the people in those encampments with respect. I don't think they're treating the neighbors with respect. I don't think they're treating anybody in the city with respect when it comes to these. So that is, that ties into housing like substantially.
Sure.
And they're just not addressing it. So.
Yeah. So let's talk.
We want to get into public safety, right? But just I want to nail you down on what does it take to achieve this code/permitting idea. Like, if you get elected, do you think if you bring this to the council, they'll be for it?
I do. I think I've talked to a few of the more moderate council members that are there now. They see this as an excellent opportunity. There are also small localities that have done these things, like I said, with polling permits online, pre-approved dwellings that you can just go up. So we can use groundwork that's already been laid and go with these ideas and make them tailored to Minneapolis the best we can. So,
and have you heard any rebuttals to this idea? Like, is there a reason why the socialist person would not like your permitting plan? Like, does this even have to be
it has to be a priority, right? That's one thing, right?
Yeah,
they actually have to believe it matters.
Exactly.
Because it doesn't get, like, that would not be highlights. It's not sexy to say we're making pulling permits easier. It's more sexy to say we're holding landlords to the feet to the fire.
Sure.
And now they're screwed because they can't do this or that or whatever.
That is generally their rebuttal is to be punitive to landlords. That doesn't create more housing. And when I bring these up, they usually gloss over it. Again, it's not sexy. I'm not running on, these super great, sexy ideas that everybody wants to hear nationally. I'm really just trying to make Ward 1 better and the city as a whole. So
when there's a vote on the city council in general, is it just a majority wins, or does it require more than that? Like, for example, I see there's 13 seats, right? Mm-hmm. Is it 7 votes wins? Is that how it goes, or how?
Yes, and then the mayor does have a veto, but they can override it with a supermajority. So.
Okay. So we kind of have to get to 7 to have any real, right?
Correct.
Like anything under 7 is helpful, but not that helpful.
Yes.
Because they can push through. If you have 5, they can still push through their agenda, so to speak.
Yes. And currently there's, 7 to 8 that are kind of DSA aligned to some degree. There's, but they certainly have the majority of the 7 that they need to push a lot of these ideas through. The mayor's vetoed many of them.
But if the mayor changes, that veto goes away. And that's actually the real concern people have to understand.
Yeah.
Is that this is like a pivotal year because the mayor there's a good chance the mayor changes this year, right? No one knows it'll happen. I'm not saying it will, but.
Yeah, nobody knows. I'm on Team Jacob.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think everybody should know that, yes, change in the mayor's office could hurt all of this. And I would tell everybody to take a moment and look at Mayor Fry's record. Even if you disagree with him, he puts out a plan. It has budgets, timelines, departments, zoning. And so often the other side just says no and doesn't give any. It's very frustrating. So this is the biggest reason why I'm on, Mayor Fry's support, because even if you do disagree, there's something to disagree with. It's not just a negative, no, we're not doing that. And I think they do that because they are hiding certain things they know would be unpopular if they put them down on paper and, pass them out. So,
right.
Like, what would be an example of one of those?
Rent control.
Sure.
Yeah. Well, there was actually Omar Feta had at least was attributed to rent freeze as well.
Yes.
Did you hear that as well?
I've heard that.
Do you believe that's true? Is that he had at least not sure?
It's
calmed down. So it's like, I wonder, like, if that's one of those things where they said, oh, well, we pulled this. It's not working so good. Let's pull back.
Yeah. I know the candidate that I'm running against, openly ran on a lot of the DSA line stuff of.
Let's talk about that. Yeah.
Yeah. Elliot Payne, the defund the police, the rent control.
What else would be in that? Any other things that you can think of?
Some of them want to do like an extra tax for wealthier residents. Was Fatah. What did he call it? A corporate issue.
I think a wealth tax. Yeah.
As if people won't just like move to Edina.
Exactly. You would. These are the types of things you would see a howling out of the city, which we really do want to avoid. He's tried to moderate himself, but he has voted constantly with the DSA on all of these things, my opponent. So I will say he is very good at saying a lot without saying anything. So,
Well, yeah. What are the issues that you take issue? I mean, we're okay with you, whatever you think, like what sets you apart from your opponent specifically. And this is Elliot Payne, you said, right?
Correct.
So you versus Elliot Payne, where do you differ and where do you think you're, like?
Well, yeah, I wish to be very focused on the ward. There's many big projects that are coming through there on Central Avenue, University Avenue, Marshall. A lot of the
Like street projects, is that what you're saying?
Excuse me?
Street projects? Is that
Street
what you're
projects,
saying?
yeah.
Similar to
redevelopment. Currently, yes.
Okay.
I'm hoping, yeah. So he has said that he advocated for the rapid bus transit, which I know that there are people in the ward that use the 10 to get downtown, and I think that's great, and we should add more buses. But spending that type of money to get buses from Fridley into downtown that are just going to go straight through Northeast, there are many people who live in Northeast and over by the U that would love to have a bus that goes to the Quarry, to 29th and Johnson, to the places where we live and work.
Yeah.
So if you want to get rid of parking minimums, we need to make sure that we're going to have a transit system that actually functions for where the people there want to go. You can put in a unit that's got 24 buildings, and if you don't have, a transit plan attached to this that really works, you're going to have 24 to 48 more cars on that street right now. That's just, 96% of Americans have a car.
Yeah.
They are fighting a fight to get rid of cars that hopefully my daughters can have. And when we need to just get to a point where we have a street for everybody.
Sure.
They're not doing that. They want to start a fight with cars for some reason. They believe if you make a 50-year plan for a road, it will just somehow shoehorn everybody into their thinking. This isn't good for the people who live in the ward. This isn't good for our businesses. I don't think it's good for our renters. And, a lot of people go to the U that live in Northeast. My wife would have to take 2 buses. She works at the U. She would have to take 2 buses from Northeast Minneapolis to the university. This is just
It's
silly.
like 3 miles, 2 miles, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's a 8-minute drive, a 12-minute bike ride, or an hour and 5-minute bus.
Yeah.
I mean, this
Insane.
is just so. That I want to advocate for those. Housing is a big one. You've heard these are I have a real plan that does not just have large developers come in and build big buildings. This is a wealth building, unit generating plan.
Okay.
And safety. I think we need to get away from this defund rhetoric. The chief of police seems to be a real reformer. I have seen a lot of younger, more diverse police from the new recruits. As long as I continually see this, he's got my support. The 2nd precinct is the one that goes over my ward. They are woefully understaffed. There was an issue at a bar the other night, and there was 1 police officer on the 2nd precinct. So these
one at
Officer Tim, thank you for coming in. They were able to bring over some more officers to make sure that situation got handled. But yeah, this is, 1 officer for the entire 2nd precinct. This isn't going well.
Yeah.
To answer some of your question, Tim, I pulled up your opponent, Elliot, here, and just got like a blurb on what he's, campaigning for: expanding non-police responses. So kind of the example you just gave, pushing to enforce wage theft prevention. So basically anti-small business, making transit more accessible, what you were just talking about, reducing toxic air pollutants from auto body shops.
Are there 6 auto body shops in all of Northeast Minneapolis?
Yeah. So,
maybe
anyways,
4.
One.
Okay.
I think there's a couple.
Okay.
but if you can fix public safety and you can fix housing, like that is the bedrock upon, then you can work on other things.
Right.
Correct.
Right.
He rarely addresses downtown, which I think is a real problem.
Right. Every ward has to consider downtown, right? I mean, that's no matter where you are. What's your plan for public safety?
Well, again, a properly staffed police department is number one. There are the other avenues that aren't the police, that Elliot was saying he'd like to strengthen. Right now, 96% of their calls, 93% of their calls still end just to the police. I'm not against strengthening those programs. I think they've been horribly implemented. And a person with a gun doesn't need to come to every situation. My mother was a psych nurse at the crisis center for over 30 years. There are all types of programs we can strengthen to make sure that that's getting addressed.
I did a showing at a duplex in Ventura Village 2 days ago. And I haven't been to that neighborhood in a while.
Can you tell me where Ventura Village is?
So
it actually rings a bell, but I can't think of where it is.
So Ventura Village is going to be north of 94, I believe. Hold on. It's like one of the northernmost parts of South Minneapolis. No, it's just south of 94. Elliott Park is north. Ventura Village is south. Hiawatha is here. 35 is here. So think of like the northernmost part of Phillips.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
And I did this showing at this duplex, and this block of Elliott is beautiful homes. Like, these are clearly mostly owner-occupants taking good care of these beautiful, beautiful homes. And it's like there's just like zombies walking around all over the place, literal like needles
They look like
on
zombies,
the path.
yes.
Some people just sleeping in the sidewalk. Some just like almost like is this like the apocalypse? Like I don't know, man. I had just kind of like an existential thing going on there, and my client wanted to get the heck out of there as soon as we can. But the really sad part is we were standing outside of this house ready to show it. The neighbor ran across the street just to meet us, shake our hand, because he was so excited to see that somebody who looked like a professional person might be wanting to buy this house. And he was trying to be helpful to the seller. It really just came off as like kind of desperation and like not a good look at all. But God bless him, because he's just trying to like, oh my gosh, and trying to talk up the neighborhood and blah, blah, blah. And man, the desperation in this guy's eyes, and then as you look around, like, dude, there's somebody sleeping right here. So I've thought a lot about this, and I don't, no offense to you or the Minneapolis City Council, this problem's not going to be solved by the Minneapolis City Council. I don't believe. This is all over the country, and it really is. I think it's going to take major like federal dollars coming in. I don't know what the solution would be. But I just had that experience. I think
more housing.
The first start is policing, though, because if those people are not sleeping on the street, a lot of that stuff goes away. Not all of it, right? And again, it's complicated, but we don't have to make it so complicated as to say first step is police, right? There's no question that like mental health, even so, for those of you who don't know my personal life, I have a son who has special needs, and we actually had to call the police out. And there's no question that when they came out, the police in my area were really good with dealing with him. But if they weren't, I could see how it would be a problem.
Yeah.
Okay? Because he was having like a mental health crisis. And at that time, we needed someone, and the only people we could call were the police. So no question that could be valuable.
Yeah.
But it's only valuable until the problem is like, let's call it a first world problem, right? When it's a second or third world problem where it's just flat out crime and danger, we need police.
Absolutely. To that point of police coming to situations like that they don't always know what's going on there. They need to protect themselves. I think that we need to continually hold them to the highest of standards. So that in those situations, they are working more on restraint and recognizing that the person is probably having one of the worst days of their lives. But yes, there are also situations where, period end, we need officers to go into those situations. They are dangerous, and I am glad that we have trained officers that are ready to take these things on. Shootings at encampments, shootings at schools. There are shootings on the streets. These need to be dealt with professional, fully staffed officers. So
who have the general support of the city and the population of the city, because if they come in now, this is kind of like this undertone, right? I can't say that I heard it from any one officer saying this, but I think my neighbor told me this is like the problem that the police officers have now is they don't have the support of the city. So they see crimes happen, but they won't step in unless it's really bad, because frankly, they have too much at risk and they're just not supposed to stop low level stuff anymore. Right. And that's, I think, where you get at nationwide, because you hear about that, like, well, we can't stop thefts unless they're above a certain amount, and these kind of things right at stores. And San Francisco, you hear those kind of stories.
Many of those encampments that have been cleared out, the mayor and his team have worked diligently to make sure as many people found housing, as many people found a treatment, as many people, and then it would be worked down to a very few who knew the police would not come into these lawless areas. And that's when they said, well, we're clearing this out now. I mean, the city still took the time to make sure that these people have all of the resources that, are available and that we can. And I think they did great jobs at finding homes for, 85% of them. And you could see that they were deteriorating into, kind of lawless centers where stolen cars would be brought into because they knew that the police weren't going to go into them.
Yeah,
man. And it's like, that's great to hear that because there is a way to like be compassionate and also make it illegal to do what you're doing. Just like you can say that, like, well, if you kneel on someone's neck for 20 minutes and they die, you should probably go to jail. And then also we need more cops.
Correct.
At the same time.
Yeah. They should. Police should
together on this one.
Yeah.
Police, are given, a lot of authority, and they should be held to the highest of standards because of that, without question. Yes, Derek Chauvin was guilty. I think we can all agree with that. That doesn't make all of the police officers guilty. And one thing I think where you can, end up getting bad officers, if you have somebody who is just too supportive of the police and allow them to do anything, to the very other side where, they're understaffed and, vilified, you're going to get all of the officers to surround even the bad ones and just be like, well, he's on our team or she's on our team and we're all in this together. So we need to make sure that, like, we have a working relationship with the police and that the good ones can go, hey, I don't want to ride around with Archie Bunker anymore because this is going to be bad on my badge, So like that's important.
Yeah.
And we do that by, having that working relationship with them, holding them to those standards. I mean, I believe most police officers are proud to wear that badge, to do that job. It's dangerous and it's hard.
Well, heck, the ones who are left have to be, right?
Yeah.
Because there's no glamour reason to be still doing it. So you're either, right? I mean,
yeah. You look at the new recruits, they're young, they look like Minneapolis. I mean, and kudos to them. That is, we're not signing up, and like, I'm proud of them. They should. Thank you. So,
yeah.
Well, one of the biggest parts of safety is I have two little girls. We're learning to ride bikes. We go around. I don't know when people forgot how to drive. They'll blow stop signs. They speed like it's,
Your neighborhood is especially bad.
Racetrack. And it's just, some of this can be addressed with road design, but some of this is just outright needs to be enforced. This is dangerous for all of us.
Well, it's a form of the broken window theory, right? Like if you do the small stuff, if you do enforce it, then there's a presence and people know, right? But like it has to be enforced.
Correct.
We have to, and that's where you have to give the police some leeway to enforce, right? Just because they're pulling someone over, it does not mean that it's racial. It certainly could be, but like it doesn't mean that it is. They should be able to pull people over for petty stuff and not be called racist.
We need to make sure that we have the stats on that so we don't see any huge outliers, because that can happen.
Yep.
We need to make sure that body cams are always on. That's obscenely important. But yeah, no, that is absolutely, we need to just be able to pull people over for what used to just be common. I don't.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
What? Where are we at with this Omar Fatah guy? Is he did he like lose his endorsement or something, or do we know what the latest is on him?
He did, but he still has a lot of support. So he lost his endorsement because I'll paraphrase, the Democratic, the DFL basically said that there were too many irregularities in the election to keep the endorsement. And from what I heard, I pretty much agree. There were, 1,000 votes that didn't count. So what happens when you go in as a delegate, you register. It was 1,000 people who registered that day. Votes were not counted. So they were physically there and they didn't count their votes.
Yeah.
Interesting. And did these non-counted votes happen to be of a certain political persuasion, or we don't know?
We don't know, but like that was one of the irregularities, and there was others too, but that was a big one.
So it's basically Fry versus this guy. Those are the players right now.
Well, I believe the other side's plan is, because we have ranked choice voting, they are saying rank anybody but Jacob. So there are a few other candidates that have some support. Jazz Hampton, Dwayne Davis, Omar Fatah. So you'll see a lot of signs that say like rank all three of these guys.
Got it. So, and ranked choice voting in and of itself is ripe for fraud, right? I mean, that just allows them to play tricks like this, right?
I'm not sure where I fully come down on ranked choice voting yet. I will say that the intent of it was to bring more people in so that you had more diverse viewpoints, which I think is good for our democracy. Yeah, I don't know how well it's working, but I still want to make sure, like, because I do think that's important, that like we don't have just A or B and that's all you get. I do kind of like the idea that you can hear more voices. I mean, this time around, I think there's a clear winner on it. So,
yeah,
you know.
Yeah. Well, talking about the words, and I really don't know if this is like which words we support or which one, but like from your view, taking a housing and safety type perspective, or your goals are housing, safety, and transportation are three of your main goals. Oh, and fiscal responsibility, right? Is your fourth, right?
Absolutely.
So if we take those as the priorities, and we figure that we're not going to get that in every ward, which wards are the ones that people should focus on the most, right? Like, because some of them, let's just say, like, if there's 5 that you're never going to win, what 7 should be the priorities for the voters? And not saying that people shouldn't, but, you know, if you're going to say, do you have any idea for which wards we should promote? And I think you brought up a site of all of Minneapolis, or all of MPLS to be specific.
Yeah.
Tell us about that organization and how that would impact this question.
I actually don't know much about them. They're a lobbying organization, so I'm not allowed to have like any contact, really.
Okay.
Because you can only vote within the ward that you live in, right?
Correct.
Yep.
So then what do you mean by your question? Like, how
well,
can we
I mean,
focus
people are
on...
listening to this. They have interest in property in Minneapolis, and you can only vote in the city you live in. But like, let's say you own rental properties in, I know Ward 3 is Rainville. I'm fairly confident that he's moderate. But like Ward 5, we know
Pearl Warren is a great candidate over there.
Who is it?
Pearl Warren?
Pearl Warren, yeah. And is the current incumbent running again, even though he doesn't live in the state anymore?
He is not running.
Okay.
No.
Thankfully. Okay. But so my question is like, so if you're a landlord and you have a chance to really support, I mean, I think we should support Ward 1. We should support Ryan.
We're doing
but
it.
Like,
yeah.
but supporting him in, let's say, Rainville and Ward 3, well, what's left? That's only 2 votes. So, and some of them might not be all that bad on housing in particular. Let's see here. I've been to the housing committee, and I personally thought that Andrea was a pretty housing reasonable candidate.
Andrea is retiring.
Okay.
I think actual loss to the city, but
I
Ward 8 is
yeah.
Josh Basson, I
Okay.
believe. And yeah, 2 thumbs up there. He is running against just somebody is, I believe, outrightly a DSA member.
Okay.
I think. I don't want to speak out. Maybe
So-
he's certainly aligned with them.
So I guess my question is, where are the so we know that there's at least one incumbent that is middle of the road. I don't know how many others are because I don't know all of Minneapolis. I know I'm
Vita
anti
up
Katie
in
Cashman.
4 is
I know that.
fantastic.
I said I know I'm anti Katie Cashman. I know that for sure.
Mm-hmm.
There's a few others on there that I know I'm against, but who should we be for? What wards could actually win? Right? Because we need 7.
We do.
So like, where would you pick? Like, if you're going to say the 7 that you would pick that people put resources in, which really means like, look, if you're a landlord and you're in a certain area and you're worried about rent control, can you give a 500? Can you give 1,000? Can you give something to get some signs out, to
You
get
can.
some social media out?
So-
can you give $100 per unit, something like that?
You, an individual can give 600. A couple can give up to 1,200. Yard signs are always great. They're a fantastic way to go.
How much is a yard sign? Like if you're going to buy 100
I think
yard
they're
signs?
about. It depends on how many you're buying at a time, but they're usually $10 to $15.
Okay.
You probably get a little lower than that when you buy them in bulk, but yeah. So we are running down on time. People are trying to get mailers out. Those are important. I know they sound like old, but that's a great way to get people out. So Facebook and some of those things, you can boost stuff. So this money does help to make aware of who's running, what they're about. Sometimes, local politics, not everybody's paying attention. They have started to pay a lot of attention since the end of September. I've been knocking on doors all summer, and some people are like, well, that's great, see you later, but as you come back to them, they're like, yeah, no, this is important. Okay, so we're getting Northeast covered with Brian Strahan signs. I'm trying to get some mailers out, so if anybody does want to, go to my website, brianstrahan.net. Again, everything helps. You can check us out also on Facebook. I believe we have Beers with Brian at Bauhaus. Yeah, Bauhaus this Thursday to come ask me any questions. Yell at me if you want. So
I don't know if this can be out before that Beers with Brian. Are you doing that frequently? Is that something you're doing regularly?
yeah, if you watch Facebook, you'll see meet and greets. People throw for me, or I try to do coffees or beers with Brian so people can get out and meet me. You'll see me knocking on doors constantly. That's one of the best ways to do it. Look for a mailer that's coming out. But yeah, this is, I think if anybody who's in Minneapolis takes a moment, all of Minneapolis is a good resource to take a look at candidates that are endorsed on a more middle of the road situation. And yeah, Ward 1 is very competitive. I'm taking nothing for granted. So we got more doors to knock.
Do you know how many people typically vote in that particular election?
I
Right, because
think
it's an off year, right?
Yep. I think the last one that was competitive was 2021, and it was just over 10,000.
Okay,
So
10,000 people, and what was the difference between winning and losing?
a couple hundred votes.
Okay, so like
Wow.
if you are listening to this podcast and you know someone in Ward 1 specifically, or you own properties there, you can make a difference by sending this podcast to them, even if they're not a landlord. Correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And my opponent, I've met him a few times. He seems like a very nice gentleman. I really only disagree with his politics.
Sure.
But, being out on the doors, I can say that brand of politics doesn't seem to have grown. So I kind of consider myself running against a couch. I need to get my supporters out. That is what I'm doing. I think there's a lot of people who are just kind of frustrated with the way city politics are going, and they do want to see a change. And they just need to know that I'm out there, and that if they do have a question, they can reach out to me and get those answered so that they know that there's a reasonable candidate for them.
Yeah, and can we get so like helpful is if you own a property that's on a major street, let's say Stinson Avenue, Johnson, Lowry, so those sorts of streets are over in this area. If you own a house over there and you can put a sign out, that gets a lot of vision, right?
22nd is actually a great one right now. And
22nd, okay.
Well, because they're tearing up Lowry and they put highways down the
22nd,
two
okay.
sides of the Lowry right now. So yeah, if you are on any of those paths, I would love to hear from you and get a yard sign up if you'd like. 5th Street, Washington Street. Yeah, there's Washington is a good one. All of the main thoroughfares. And also, if you're not on the beaten path, I want to be your city council member too, so I'll happily come up and shake your hand and deliver your yard sign too. So
Correct. Do you have a phone number used specifically for your campaign?
I don't. I have my own. And we have email and people can reach out those ways.
Okay, cool.
Well, awesome, man. Thank you so much for coming today.
Yeah.
This has been a great discussion.
Thank you guys.
We'll put everything in the show notes in the description so people can reach out to you. I think it's really interesting. I'd like to, if we had more time and we don't have to pick up my kids in like 8 minutes, but it's interesting. Why is it, who are these people who vote for these politicians in Minneapolis who seem to do such a bad job? And what's up with that? What's the demographic? Because it's like 21-year-old college politics that seem to still be winning. So is it like that most of the voters are just like young people?
I think some of the
process
process has been taken over, and I don't want to come down on them. I was young once too. I think there's a lot of people who they feel powerless and they feel that frustration, and
but why are
for
they
some
the
reason
majority?
they're buying that bill of goods. I don't. I personally don't. I don't think, these ideas have been tried and they haven't worked. So.
Yeah, I agree. And I can empathize with everyone who believes that. And I probably did at one point in my life too. I'm just saying, why do the votes always come out that way? That's what I'm saying.
Some of these, the processes to get the endorsements have kind of been taken over by the DSA. They really do walk in lockstep. If you see like all of Minneapolis, I know many of the people on there. I agree with some of their things. I disagree with some of their things. We all have disagreements, and that's healthy for democracy. When you kind of look at the other side, they are hitting every note.
Yeah.
They walk in lockstep, and that's one thing that they are organized, and I don't take that away from them. So
Sure. Okay. Well, that makes sense. Thank you so much,
Thank
Brian,
you.
man.
Yeah.
We'll keep in touch, and good luck out there. Everybody vote for Brian.
Thanks.
Thank you.
So what's going on today, Tim?
Hey, man. Well, I think we should just talk about what happened, what we just heard. And I think the big thing is I want to encourage anyone who owns property or has interest or just loves Minneapolis that they get the word out that this election is super important.
Totally.
I think the mayor is extraordinarily important. I mean, if you care anything about housing or just rational thought, you should vote for Fry. There's just no question in my mind that any vote that includes anyone else is a downside. Like this ranked choice voting, you can't choose a 2. You can only choose Fry. That's it.
Yeah. I feel like I was very, very uninformed on Fry for a long time. And whatever. I'm not even going to say anything negative about him right now because I don't think that would be helpful. But yeah, I mean, he's the best we got right now, and he's holding it together. And I mean, like rent control did pass in Minneapolis, right? And there's powers that be that are not allowing it to take place. And man, it is scary thinking about what could happen to such a great city if just left, unregulated and from a safety, perspective.
Yeah, we're at a critical point, and I think that there's I'm not a doomsayer when it comes to Minneapolis, but I'm very concerned about the direction. And I think if it keeps going down this path, it'll be harder and harder to turn around. Like he mentioned how they're trying to take away cars and the assault on cars. I mean, I look at that from my parents' neighborhood. There are streets that they took and turned into parking only spots where there's medians where you cannot drive through, and just weird things that cost so much money that they put in that are basically that end up being anti-car, and it's just they did that everywhere. And like
Sure.
we need city council people who don't care about how you get somewhere, or they just help you get somewhere, right?
Hey, did you know this is off topic, but this is for the let's shout out to the landlords listening who are looking for a landlord tip. Other than what this episode's been about so far, if you make a really big purchase at Home Depot, it doesn't matter what day, what time of year. I learned this buying cabinets the other day. You just have to have a manager call in Home Depot Card Services, and they'll put that big purchase on a no interest 24-month payment plan for you. Because sometimes they'll advertise the no interest thing, and so I learned that buying cabinets the other day. Well, I'm meeting Miguel on Tuesday to order freaking everything for this project. And my guy Dan in the cabinets section, he's like, I'll just call corporate for you again. So I thought that was a good tip to share with the peeps.
That is a good tip. All right, well, thanks for listening. Hopefully you'll get involved in Minneapolis politics. If you own, heck, if you're in St. Paul, you should probably even support Minneapolis. We need to stick together and support small landlords and change the tide of the anti-landlord movement by city councils.
Yeah, just make a Facebook post or Instagram or whatever you can do.
Yep.
Thank you so much to Shook Rentals. Remember, you can get 25% off, 20% off by going to the description. Thanks to Network Title also for your sponsorship. Please like and subscribe and review, and we'll see you next week.
That's it for today's show. You can visit the Twin Cities RealEstateInvesting.com website for show notes, tips, tricks, and other local real estate investing information. Adam and Tim would like to meet with you. To schedule a one-on-one meeting with either Adam or Tim, go to TwinCitiesRealEstateInvesting.com/schedule.